Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Monday. It's June 10th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. Kind of a quiet day. This is more like a summer type trading day. This is kind of what you'd expect. We had a little trend up. Now we're working down. There's a gap here. There's actually the gap on the daily is from here to here, but there's even a gap on this chart from here to here. So it doesn't surprise me that we turned down and are trading down now. Um, there's not a lot of trades today. Um, Along this key entry point, there's actually one right here that I meant to mark. I couldn't decide if I wanted to mark it green or blue, but I'm going to go ahead and put a green one there anyway, just until we talk about it. There's a little bit of a repeat pattern going on here. And so if you recognize that, you could probably call this blue. It's a second entry long, right off the key entry point, but it's not a great signal bar. But if you recognize this repeat pattern, you may want to take the trade. We'll talk about it when we get there. But I'm going to move through the trades rather quickly today. There's a baseball game I want to catch at 3 o'clock. The school here is one win away from going to the College World Series, and so I'm a big Ole Miss baseball fan, so I'm going to run home to watch that. And I don't do that often, but we don't play them often much during the middle of the week either. So, but I'm excited to go watch that game, hoping it turns out well. But anyway, I'm going to move through these quickly. Not a lot of them today, so it's not going to take long anyway. But you can see the trend up and the trend down. Now we've got a break here, and we're trying to work towards a new low. It's after 2 o'clock regardless. So, but 7 o'clock actually came in this sideways stuff right here. And this is so tight, I would just stay out of it. We do get a failed second entry short right here, and a break, which is also a breakout pullback long along this resistance area right here. Notice that new low, first entry, second entry. There's not a lot of room up to the high, and it actually, you could even call that high a double top. So it's not a great setup, but you would probably expect if we go higher, we're going to get a measured move like so. And you can see we basically got a perfect measured move there. So, and that's where you would be expecting prices to probably go. And if this is a two-tiered channel, at least to the upper side of the tier of the trend channel line, which is where we actually turned down, but it kept creeping up until we got that measured move there. So it turns out to be a good move. It's not a great setup, but anyway, it's one you might take. And then we pull back to the trend line. You get a close outside. We try to make a new low. We can't, but everything still closes at the trend line there. That's a second entry long, key entry point. It's a higher low. It's a double bottom. I like that trade. And off it goes. There's actually a failed second entry short here. But with us coming back below the midline, even though we're bouncing off the EMA, I wouldn't take that. I mean, I guess you could probably argue for that to be green. But there's not much room to get out. That's the problem. It turns out this would have worked, but you don't know that ahead of time. It's just risky going long right into that high. And so I'm just a little hesitant to mark that one after two legs up there. But the key is it's two legs up and then a failure, so it's a failed second entry short. And it is right at the midline. And we just came off the low, so you'd expect prices are probably going to try to test that upper trend channel line again. So there's a possibility there. But then, of course, we work back to the key entry point, the trend line here. But this time, we make a low. We test it once. We actually test it twice right here, but we don't have a new low in place, and we're not back to the key entry point. That's risky going long there. And notice it does come back and make a new low and test the key entry point. And so really you could still call it a double test from that point right there and call it a failed second entry short as well. And so for that reason, I like going long there. Plus, as you notice, that's like the third time you've kind of, this one is still very similar. It's not quite like these two, but even here you've got somewhat of a congestion right at the key entry point and a little drop or a little double bottom. So I really wouldn't call it a definite repeat pattern until it did it again here. And that was the reason I marked that one green. We never got a new low there, but we are back to the key entry point, and we bounce right off of it. And this is a double top, so first entry, second entry. So it's a failed second entry long, and it is also a failed second entry short because we make a low lower there, and so you could call that first, second, but we do make another new low there, so it's really only a first entry, but it's still a couple of tries. It's still a repeat pattern. It's at the key entry point, so it's a very neutral bar. So, but for all those reasons, you may take that trade. And then, of course, there is a new low there, so it's a first entry, and then you're moving up and you get a second entry short here, and a higher low with a nice bullish bar right off the EMA. So I would expect at least another leg up similar to that one. And notice we get that, and then another little failure, and we go higher. This is technically not a new low here, so even though that looks like a failure, I'm not as crazy about it. It's another one you might, you could probably argue for it to be green, but none of these three trades are looking at this one. If you see the repeat pattern going on here, you could probably argue for that to be blue. This one's close, but these two, they're pushing a little bit. So we do turn down up here way away from the EMA, but you want to wait on the lower high, which comes right here. Now you might have gone short right here. Again, I didn't mark it. The only way you could really do this one safely, when it broke higher and turned and went below this one right here, you could have had a sell stop right there. You couldn't, if you waited for this, you don't really have room to get out, or it's real suspect that you'll get out and have enough room. So I wouldn't wait till that bar closed because it's just so big. But if you saw that and the reversal it made, I mean, that's a sure trap almost when it breaks higher and then turns instantly and goes out the other way. There's a failed second entry long here, but you definitely can't go short right into a trend line right there. We're moving on down. There's another break higher right here, but again, you've been away from the EMA. You already got a break. You could almost argue you got to close outside the trend line right here. And so this one's a little suspect going short way down here. You need to wait on a correction. We finally come back right here. It's just a first entry, and it really just kind of sets up the trend line. But then you try to go higher again, and you get a second entry short. That's where I'd go short. That's not a perfect signal bar, but it's mostly bearish. What you might do is let it break lower and drop a limit order a couple ticks back and see if you can get a little better entry. But really, I like that trade. I would have liked for the signal bar to be better, but it's close enough. It closes, a few ticks into the middle, but that's still a pretty big bearish move down, and it couldn't fight its way back too much. It's a second entry, and it confirms the trend line. You actually get the better entry right here, but it's right into all this support, so you don't really want to go short right there either. So notice that you do really make a double top there, and so then you get a first entry, second entry, and this is off a different key entry point, and this actually broke higher and turned down. I like that one. That's close enough to the EMA. This is dropping down pretty quickly, and you would measure this first leg, and then you would look for a measured move down, and you can see we still got plenty of room there, and we actually went a tick or two further before we corrected. And then you get a break here and a second entry short with another bearish bar. I'm not crazy about this one because we're above the midline. We're not quite back to the EMA. We're not back to the trend line. But it's the first break of this short-term trend line right here, and it is a second entry. And when it's dropping down this steeply, you may not get back to the EMA. So you may take that one. It's not ideal, but there's plenty of room to get out. It is a second entry. It is a bearish bar. It is off the secondary key entry point, or the first break of a secondary key entry point. So it's one to consider. Then we drop down here, and then we just reverse strongly. Now you got two measured legs down. You get a first entry, a second entry. It fails in a nice bullish bar. I like going long right there. and that takes you in the 2 o'clock hour. So really, there were only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trades that I would mark blue or red. There's a bunch of green ones. Um, this one is really borderline, so you might say 6 blue or red. Still a bunch of green ones. It just was one of those days, just kind of a slow summer trading day, slow summer Monday trading day. And those happen sometimes. So um, anyway, hope you had a good trading day. You had to be patient today and you had to wait, and there just weren't a lot of trades. So it was not what I'd call an easy day, although there's still some movement here and there's still some trades. And there's probably a couple others in there that you might, if they set up a little better on your chart, you might have been able to take them. But just nothing really. Like I said, this is more of your summer type days that get kind of slow and methodical, and they're not really trending. You're just going one direction then another direction. And my guess is we're going to try to fill that gap. We'll see what happens, but I would suspect that we're going to try to fill these two gaps. Actually, if you fill this one, you fill them both. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.